So the leaves are turning, the beautyberry is ripening, the goldenrod is flowering, and the days are getting shorter. Autumn is coming and I cannot wait. Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I thought I would bring you outside here today for a little bit of a chat. I haven't filmed out here in the gazebo in quite a while, but I thought it would be a good day to do that. It's nice and cool this morning so far. It won't be later, but it is right now. Hi, baby. And I just wanted to kind of catch y'all up on some things around here and answer a bunch of questions that I've been getting. First of all, one of the reasons that I have not been doing videos down here in a while is because of the septic issue, which, thank you, Father, is completed. It was a little chaotic not having access to all of the things in my home that I needed to for about a week and a half. But it is all completed. Having a whole new septic system put in is an ordeal, especially if you live in the mountains. They had to involve the EPA, the health department, like every agency was involved in figuring out how to do our property. But it is all done. Just checking. We've had a fox coming around lately. But as I said, it's been a little bit of an ordeal getting all this stuff done, but it's finally finished. I just have a couple things to do, like I think you can see right down there, there's a big white pipe. That is where our line runs from this side, where the house and the septic and all that is, to the other side where the field lines are. They had to do it kind of like a city or municipality type situation would be. Because it had to cross over, an obstacle. But, so one of the things that I still need to do is I will paint that so that it kind of blends into the environment and isn't like this glaring white thing out here. And then I need to go and seed Sophie and Amos's area, because that's where they put in all of the new field lines, and they put in some extensive field lines. The first two lines they said was actually enough for a family of 10, and they put in more after that. So we will be good for the rest of our lives here with this septic system. So one of the questions was, how do we know that there was a problem and that we needed a new one? Well, a while back, every so often, we would come down here and we'd get a whiff, like super subtle, like barely there. I think it depended upon the weather, and it was sort of a, did you smell something? I don't know, I kind of think I did sort of situation. Well, then we had, our tractor was down here parked right outside the gazebo area, and this gazebo has like huge stone walls. It's like 25, 30 feet across, got like an 8-foot stone fire pit in the middle. It's like an amazing spot. But I haven't been using it because right after the tractor was parked out here for a couple of weeks, after we moved it, there was suddenly a spot, about yay big. And it was always filling up. Well, it stayed full with black water, and it stunk. So that is why I have not been coming down here to do videos, because depending upon the air, how the air moved, I would smell it. So I had reached out to the inspector for our county, told him what the situation was. He said it sounded like a D-box failure, which is the box where the line goes from the septic tank out to the field lines, but the D box is where it separates from that line to all the field lines, so it's a distribution box. He said sometimes they don't get buried very deep, they get crushed, they have a failure, and you just have to replace that. It's not a big deal. But when the septic guy came out, he's like, this gazebo's an issue. Because they couldn't access the field lines, because this gazebo, as amazing as it is, was built on top of them. So that is why we ended up just having all new everything put in. And it was, because it was more of a challenge than a typical install, it was very expensive. But like I said, this system should outlive us now. What else? Oh, my hand. Update about this situation. If you did not see my last video, there was a German Shepherd that I had been caring for, and he attacked me, literally tried to kill me. I'm not going to go into all the details all over again. You could just go watch my last video. I'll put a link up here in the card or something. The dog was sent off for rabies testing, and just to set everyone's mind at ease, the test came back negative. I suspected all along that it was not that he had gone rabid, because when I got out that day, he was perfectly normal as always. It was when I touched his toy that he snapped, and it was a territorial, aggressive, possessive sort of snap. So, you know, lots of people asking about the rabies thing, and yes, it was negative. He was just simply a dangerous dog. Another question that many of you asked, and you know, I just kind of wanted to cover all of these in this video simply because so many people were asking these questions. I didn't want to just answer them over and over and over again in the comment section. And one of the questions that was repeatedly asked is, where was Betsy? And for those who are new, and because I don't talk about it very often, but Betsy is my pocket-sized bodyguard, if you know what I'm saying. Here's the thing. I had let my guard down, quite honestly. Just being transparent with y'all. I mean, frankly, I've let my guard down around the homestead lately in general. You know, sometimes I just don't have clothing on that makes it easy to carry her. Sometimes I just don't want to have to wear my shoulder harness or anything like that. It's hot, you know, and so around the homestead I've just kind of been a little bit slack in it. And, you know, because the dog had become so friendly to me and was acting like a normal dog, I didn't feel the need to continue carrying her with me. And, you know, I was just running over there, feeding him and coming home, and so I didn't even have my purse with me. You know, I didn't have anything with me but the keys and the food and the water. And so I didn't have her. But here's the thing. I don't know that even if I'd have had her, even if I'd have had her on my body, on my person, I don't know that it would have made a difference, because the successive attacks happened so rapid fire fast that I couldn't take my hands down from my neck to even like go like this to get her out and put one in to use her. You know, only the initial one, which you know, in that moment, I thought it was just going to be a snap and done. You know, he snapped at my hand because I dropped the toy and I backed up. And I'm like, whoa, 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 you know, kind of thing. But then immediately is when he launched for my neck. And, you know, I put my hands up to protect myself, threw him down yelling, but the instant his feet touched the ground, he was launched again. And I had to guard my neck again. So it happened so fast. For me to go like this and get her out and do what I need to do, I'd have left my neck unguarded. So I don't know while the attack was happening that it would have made any difference. Now, of course, I could have put him down immediately after he stopped. Um, but at that point, my hand was pouring blood, and my concern was like taking care of that. I had gone to the front seat to clean it up, realized this isn't going to work. Went to the back seat to get some towels or one of the towels to wrap my hand up. Stumbled as I had both the doors open, got this massive bruise on my arm. I mean, so my mind was not like, my mind wasn't in that state. My mind was in self-preservation because he'd left. Like, when it all finished and he ran away from me, he ran and he hid and he did not come back to me. And so my state of mind was handling this. But yeah, so I don't know if it would have made much of a difference. Yeah. So, what else? Oh, a couple of people were wondering, well, where was Mr. Smith? Didn't he take you to the hospital? Or why didn't he take you to the hospital? Mr. Smith was home because they, wondering, was he, I did mention him in the last video, but it was very briefly. So a couple of people were wondering if he was on a business trip. A couple of years ago, I had a very close call out here, and he, of course, was on a business trip at the time, but that's a whole different story. No, he was home, but it is in my nature to be very protective, not secretive, but not sharing information that would cause someone to be upset or worry. When I got back to the house, my hand was wrapped in a towel, and I told my husband, he was working, and I ran over to, well, I didn't run. I walked over to his area where his desk is, and I said, hey, gonna have to go to the ER. He bit me, probably gonna need some stitches. And immediately his response was, do you want me to take you? And I said no. I said no. Because I didn't want him to worry. I knew I was going to be okay. I just had to get this dealt with. So after I said that, I went into the bathroom to wash it off, and it was like, oh no, this is definitely going to have to be treated. Wrapped it back up, you know, um, grabbed my purse and stuff, and as I'm getting ready to leave, he's like, "Are you sure you don't want me to take you? Are you sure you can drive?" I'm like, "No, I can drive. My right hand is just fine. I mean, it was bruised, but it is fine." You know, it was nearing evening because we had just done evening chores. We do all of the animals here, and then I would go do him and then come home. So it was nearing dark. We have animals that get put up every night. I mentioned a fox earlier. We've had this fox coming around almost every night, snooping around the chicken coop, like right as the sun's going down. As a matter of fact, one night I went around the corner to close the coop, and he was in the door of the chicken coop. And so I was like, no, it's, just, you got to put the animals up and everything. I didn't want to worry about that. I'll be fine. I didn't want him to worry. I didn't want him to see the state of his truck until I'd had a chance to clean it up, because I didn't want it to upset him. I mean, what was done was done. And so upsetting him and having him worry would not have fixed anything. And so that is why Mr. Smith did not take me to the hospital, and I just drove myself. I mean, I wasn't dizzy. I wasn't, I wasn't in a state where I couldn't drive. I was calm. I was fine. I mean, I'm not like a superwoman or anything, but I can often handle stressful situations well. The Father has given me a nature where I do tend to be very calm when others aren't. And I think He just It's the way he wired me. I'm not going to go into examples. I could give you some, but I'm not here to toot my horn or try and lift myself up or anything like that. It's just I'm wired to be a stabilizing force. It's how I am. That's how he made me. There were a few other questions that kept repeating, but those were the big ones. Like those were the main ones. Was the dog tested for rabies? Yes, he was tested for rabies. When I went to the hospital, they did want to start me on rabies shots, and I declined because I knew the dog was going to get tested. I knew the dog was going to be put down, and I knew he would be tested for rabies. I requested him to be tested for rabies. I actually had to pay for the test, which I was fine with. I really did not want to go through the rabies treatment as a precaution, simply because of the things that are in those. And I don't think I need to go into detail about the ingredients of things that are out there nowadays. You can do your own homework on the ingredients of those if you wish, if you don't already know. I haven't done those sorts of things in probably over 2 decades for a number of reasons. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Gosh, I'm trying to remember a couple of the other questions that people were asking. About our dog. So in that video, I also shared that same day, the day started terrible and it ended terrible. It started terrible when I took my dog, Ute, to the vet. Now, interestingly, we've thought for a while that he was a Catahoula leopard dog mix. I don't think I mentioned this in the video. Because of his eyes. His eyes are called cracked glass eyes or agate eyes. They're half blue, half brown, and one eye is split horizontally and one eye is split vertically. It's neat. It's very unique. And so we thought maybe he was Catahoula leopard dog because that is a trait that is often seen in them. And he's very vocal, very sassy. But when I took him to the vet, we never did a DNA test on him like we did for Duke. But when we took him to the vet was like, oh, a husky mix. And I'm like, oh, never even crossed my mind that that he could be a husky mix. We used to have a husky mix. She was precious. She died suddenly. It was horrible. But I had been questioning the whole Catahoula leopard dog thing. I just wasn't really seeing it. I wondered if he didn't have a little bit of pit bull in him because of his very broad head and short, stocky muzzle. But he had, the sassiness, vocal, very vocal, and incredibly soft fur and thick undercoat. So after the vet said that, I'm like, oh, okay, I could see husky pit mix. The pit would bring down his size and shorten the fur, make his ears flop down, but the eyes, the personality, the fur, the softness of it and all that stuff, oh yeah, totally, I can see husky. Because his fur is like puppy soft. He's 6 years old, and when you touch him, you feel like you're touching a puppy. He's so soft. But anyways, went down a little rabbit trail. I've got some squirrels over there fighting. I had taken him to the vet, because he had lumps. And, we got a terrible report. He has full-blown, all over his body lymphoma. But I had several people specifically mention a medication that we ought to see about having him put on. And he's on steroids to help with like the inflammation and bring things down, but he is also on that medication. And I'm not going to give the name of it, but it is one of the types that have been so maligned in the last few years. But there's a lot of research about it being done in conjunction with other ones similar to it for humans. And I just saw a study a couple weeks ago, peer-reviewed study showing tremendous benefit in this cocktail of all of these related things in battling the C word like he has. So, but not his version. So he is on it, but it's worth a shot. I haven't seen it for the version that he has. I've seen it for tumors, and being successful for that, but I don't know about lymphoma. But again, we figured it was worth a shot, and so he is going through that as well. But in the meantime, I'm also searching for a mobile vet, or there are services. I knew of them in Alabama, and there are some in Arkansas. I just don't know if they come where I live, where when your pet reaches end of life, they will come and put them to sleep in your home, so that it is as stress-free as it can possibly be. And then they take them to have them, cremated and stuff for you. It's just a very gentle service. I would really like to find someone who can do that, at least the first part here, simply because he is terrified of going in the vehicles, in the trucks. And, just taking him to the vet the other day, he's just, as soon as he gets in the truck and you start moving, he's like shaking. He's so scared. And I would just hate for his last, hour or so to be that stressful if we can avoid it. So all my subscribers out there, especially the ones of you who live here in Arkansas, if you know of mobile vets who can do something like that, please send me a message and let me know their business name, their details, anything that you've got. I know there's one up in, where was it? Bentonville, but I'm nowhere near Bentonville, and I don't believe that I'm in their service area. That's one of the things I was going to do this week, is make some phone calls just to have a name and phone number, if what he's been being given doesn't do any good. So, but anyways, enough of that. Like I mentioned, I am so glad that all of the stuff is done here at the house that needed to be done by the workers. My dogs have calmed down again because, the constant, uproar of barking because they see some new piece of equipment or someone in an area where they hadn't been working yet and things like that. The dogs were just driving us crazy. But I actually went into the kitchen day before yesterday, and I was able to do a little bit of baking with my granddaughter. Oh, you're such a good helper. Thank you. One. What's that? And?
Me too.
Two. Good. No, we don't need three. Just two.
Okay. 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 Yum, yum.
All right. Got that? Okay, sit down. There you go. We made some cookie bars, and so just like that return of normalcy is just so, I'm just so thankful for it. I still can't use my hand a whole lot, but I can use it a little bit. I had a couple people mention doing OT with it, and I actually got a phone number from a friend of mine, because someone that she knows does that. And I have been, trying to move it a lot. Like I do the little finger exercises and stuff. It kind of hurts just to do that. I'm moving it around. I don't want it to get too stiff, especially now that the swelling's gone down. there for a little bit. I couldn't really do much with it, but most of my knuckles aren't purple anymore, and all of that is healing. But it'll just take time, but it'll eventually, hopefully, be just fine. With that, um, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up, and from this point forward, things should be kind of hopefully going back to normal, God willing. So thank you for joining me here again at the homestead. God bless, and I'll talk to y'all next time.